So here's a quick introduction. This is Facebook Live. This is Loc-Doc Security, and we've had this idea for a while to do a podcast. Levi and I have spent many evenings just kind of hanging out in the conference room and testing out this theory of recording some podcasts. And well, now we're here, and this is kind of what we're going to try to do. We would like to share a little of insight of our company and what we are about, but really, we want to frame it around kind of the concept of a natural, normal conversation that happens in these four walls every single day. So we're just this is a typical scenario here: hanging out, drinking some coffee, and then having some really, I feel like, valuable conversations about maybe life, but
it's a lot of life.
A lot of life stuff. I mean, there's heavy debates about bacon and the best cheeseburgers and all kinds of stuff.
Food is a constant topic.
Important things.
The very important things. But we also talk a lot about kind of how to develop better as individuals, how to grow as an organization, and so forth. So that's kind of what we're here for today. And the really neat thing about this and the concept about this right now is that we're recording this. We're recording the audio, we're recording the video, and we're also live on Facebook. So we'll be able to share this later on. But my name is Chad Lingefelt. You've probably seen videos and things of that nature online. If you haven't, then you should go check out our YouTube page. It's youtube.com/Loc-Doc Inc. Across the table. Good morning.
Good morning, Chad. How are you doing?
How's the coffee?
It's good. It's my second cup. So started off with a not really a cold brew coffee, but more of an iced coffee this morning from the house. So I'm probably going to be jolting here soon.
This is I'm on my second Americano, but that's normal. It's
that's pretty much par for the course.
So tell us who you are and
Sure.
what you do here.
My name is Kevan Starr, and I am one of the account managers here at Loc-Doc Security. And happy to be here this morning. Kind of wedged my way in, I know. So, it's a good morning.
And then at the end of the table, in the nice gray shirt, ironically.
Levi Gray. Yeah, I do customer service here. And, just anything else, pretty much. I'm kind of whatever I'm needed for, I guess. But
fill in the gaps.
I'm a gap
Jack
filler.
of all trades, master of none.
The one and only. But,
that's a great new title, gap filler.
Gap filler.
There you go.
Please don't put that on my business card.
So Levi answers most every phone call that comes in to our main line. He's responsible for all emails, online chat, any communication that's your primary. Obviously, Nathan, who is not here right now, I'm sure he'll make an appearance at some point in time on the podcast. Is works alongside of you and handles a majority of the scheduling. And that's kind of our whole customer service area. Kevan also has a counterpart, Zach,
yes.
outside sales that is doing an awesome job and really great kind of team effort there. So that's kind of what we're about. A couple of things that I do like to talk about whenever I talk about Loc-Doc, and especially our office environment, is it's very intense on occasion because we handle emergency security issues from time to time, and customers are saying, "Hey, I need you here right now, right here. Get this fixed." And so we're in a constant state of that. We are also in a constant state of problem solving big projects, but we also have a lot of fun. There's a lot of goofing off and things, but we also are really intense with our coffee, and so that's kind of why we're titling this thing "Coffee Break," is because there is no substitute for a high intense situation when you can come in and make a nice cup of coffee and just chill out.
Yes, and we're not talking drip coffee. We're talking real coffee.
We don't do drip coffee here. There's not a Bun coffee machine in here,
or a Keurig, no Keurigs here.
I don't know if they can see the espresso machine.
It's not in view right now, but behind Kevan, we have four types of coffee to choose from. We have an espresso machine, we have French press, we have our new siphon brew, which we'll have to show that at some point in time on the podcast because that's pretty intense. And then we have the Chemex pour over.
Yeah.
So any of your flavor.
One episode we should set the siphon up in the middle of the table and just kind of let it go while we're talking.
Well, it'll take that long.
It'll
for it
take
to
about
warm
that
up.
long to go, but
well,
you'll have that.
We got a new burner over there, but I don't have any butane, so it's just really a decorative thing.
We'll have to get that rolling.
Yeah, get some butane.
It's butane. You tried denatured alcohol.
So that's another conversation that we need to have because I have a different type of a burner that is, I believe, is supposed to take denatured alcohol, which I saw that we randomly
We have
a
tons in the back.
Interesting.
Yes.
So we'll work on that here momentarily.
Oh Lord.
Send a few texts here.
See if we can get some siphon coffee brewing.
Yes.
Other than that, it's Tuesday morning.
Yep.
Last night we had our final gathering for a while at Topgolf. We did like a 5 or 6 week. I
think it was 5. It was 5 Mondays.
5 Mondays in
Yes,
a
5
row.
Mondays.
5 to 7 p.m. It was just who can come.
Yep.
We hit golf balls, ate a lot of chicken wings.
A lot of chicken wings. A lot of chicken wings.
Really?
Yeah.
There's no such thing as too many chicken wings.
So-
That's an impossible.
Who has the high score right now?
I believe it's Moody.
Andrew Moody still has the high
I
score,
think
like
it's
100
196 is the current
196,
top
I think.
number.
and that's on
That's on the Quick 9.
Quick 9.
Yeah, Quick 9.
So if you've ever gone to Topgolf, they have several different games. You can just go hit the ball, but you can also play little games. And there's one called Quick 9 where you hit 3 balls in the red target, 3 balls in the yellow target, and 3 balls in the green target.
Yes.
And you get scored based off of the accuracy to the pin.
Correct.
Anyway, Andrew Moody, who's one of our access control technicians, is
Destroyed it. I don't think anybody's going to get close to that number.
yeah. I mean,
We got 150 last.
you got 150.
But still, 150 is 46 points away.
I know. Last night Luke was very, very adamant about
Yes.
beating that score and stayed there for many, many, many hours trying to do it. But
Perhaps,
I don't think he
it was,
succeeded,
Yeah, I think
though.
it was a fruitless endeavor.
Yeah.
really,
Yeah, I would coattail that. It was fruitless.
that's sad.
Poor Luke. He's probably still there.
Blisters on his hand.
That's why he's not here. That's not why he's at work. He slept in the parking lot so he could open the place
sir,
up.
you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
But I mean, that's a good determined
Yes,
aspect, right?
absolutely.
So you got to like that.
He had a goal and he had a target, and he was trying desperately, in vain, ultimately to hit it. But
Well, it's one of the things that from an aspect around here, we like to set goals.
Yeah.
we like to go after them, and so I enjoyed watching that happen.
yeah, it was. I mean, it was. I will say this: it was a good time. It was fun.
Yeah.
Very, very determined.
Yes, very.
Well, cool. So, by way of introduction, Chad Lingfeld, Kevan, Star, Levi Gray, all here. We're going to kind of rotate people in and out of this on a weekly basis. So, if this is the first time you're watching this, the goal right now, and this may be the only one that you ever see, but the goal right
Hopefully
now,
not. Hopefully not.
is that
First of many.
every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. we'll have a coffee break and just kind of check in with each other and see how things are going. And then this will be also available wherever fine podcasts are listened to or streamed, and obviously on YouTube. So check it out there. So second thing to get to today is our topic of discussion.
Yes.
So we're not just going to talk about coffee and Topgolf, but
Yeah.
our topic of discussion for
We
today.
could talk about pickles.
There you go.
We, I think
Derailed.
I think we've killed that
We've killed
conversation.
pickles.
Yeah. Too many. So our topic of conversation today, Kevan,
Momentum.
momentum. So set that up for us and what it means to us and
Sure.
how it applies to small business in general. One of the things I want to say this before you set that up. I want this podcast, I want this Facebook Live video to not be just all about Loc-Doc. Obviously, we're here and we're in the office, but I want it to be a source of useful information for other small businesses to maybe inspire, motivate, or whatever the case may be. So, each week we want to have some type of a topic to wrap everything around. This week, to start off, is
Momentum, yes. So, kind of how I came into the idea to talk about momentum this morning is for those of you that don't know, every Tuesday, Chad, Zach, and Dustin and myself, we all sit down and we talk about kind of how things are going in our world as far as like from an account manager's perspective, new clients that are coming in, projects that we're working on, things of that nature. And for some reason this morning when I was riding in, just the word momentum came to me. Because we're looking at kind of what we've done this year as a collective group and kind of where we're headed for the year. And like Chad had said earlier, we did set a goal back in January, and I think we're going to hit it. I think we may actually surpass it by quite a bit if we kind of keep things rolling. But the thing that I was trying to wrap my head around as far as momentum goes is like the biggest example I can kind of give back in the day, which I'm not that old, but I used to help bale hay at a farm down the road. And, you got the square bales and then you've got the huge, giant, round ones. And those were always very, very difficult to move because they're big, they're heavy, and they're bulky. But once you get them moving, it's not that bad. You just kind of keep control of it. And I feel like especially for us, like last year, you guys went through like this huge explosive growth phase, added lots of new people toward the end, myself included, kind of toward the end of the year. And I feel like, maybe we are that bale of hay. We're constantly growing as an organization. We're getting bigger. And we had a little bit of challenges in January. We had a new system, a lot of new faces, kind of getting that ball rolling. And now here we are in the second half of the year, and I feel like this giant bale of hay is now moving, and we're at a good pace. And we're clicking, we're working together as a team, we're hitting goals. I mean, we are crushing it. We're just crushing it. There's no other way to put it. So the kind of thing I wanted to keep in mind is how do we keep that momentum going? How do we keep that bale of hay rolling? But on the other side of that is once you get that ball rolling, you got to kind of keep control on it, because if it gets away from you, it's going to slam into somebody's truck and it's going to destroy it. So that's kind of something I've been mindful of over the last couple of weeks, especially, is because we've been working on some really big projects and we've got a lot going on. And I just want to, how do we keep that good momentum, that good steady pace without losing control? And that's kind of what I want to talk about this morning.
It's interesting because you bring a very valid point. Anytime you incorporate change, major change within your organization, it's a major disruptor, and you never know what the outcome is going to be. And so we had major disruption at the end of last year and the beginning of this year with some addition of personnel, but we also had change in our workflow management system, which was by far more disruptive than anything that we could have ever imagined. And then once that happens, because 2016 and through the latter part of 2017, we had momentum going based off of our current set of circumstances, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a disruption. And when that disruption happens, then how you react to it or how you adapt to it will determine the kind of the next phase. I always think of things in bar graph forms because that's where my mind goes a lot of times. And I can see, and I've showed this graph multiple times of our business where there's a bar graph of growth, and you can see flat spots or drop points, and you can also go back to that time when we made a major change and it impacted us. Shortly thereafter, you'll see a spike up.
Uptick, yeah.
But and what's happened, what I've seen from a momentum standpoint, which is very interesting, is over time as our organization has gotten more and more adjusted to change, our momentum rebounds at a faster pace. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. And I think that's so important to understand. Understand kind of, I guess, if you're so focused on that specific situation where you're starting to slow down a little bit, and not looking at the big picture, as someone once said, seeing the forest for the trees. Named Kevan Starr.
Yeah.
But I think if you're not looking at the big picture and focusing on, okay, well, we're slowing down right now, but we're ultimately building. Sometimes you have to pull it back a little bit to get more momentum so that you can get more force. So when you see the big picture, ultimately that long run momentum of building more speed and building more growth and progress, we have to constantly look at what is killing our momentum overall, but also what do we need to pull back on a little bit so that we can shoot forward more.
Sure.
And so we have to...
Yeah, I think one Wednesday morning you were talking about the slingshot, right? You got to pull back in order to release and go forward.
And I've got a slingshot on my desk for that very reason.
Well, the one of the great analogies that I've heard before is bow and arrow, same kind of concept. Slingshot the same way. Is that momentum is if you have to pull it back, so you've got to stretch, and then when you let go, you're gonna see
You're
distance.
off to the races.
But if you just take it and push,
You go nowhere.
yeah. So it requires a bit of a stretch so you can get the longer distance, and the more you stretch, the farther you can go. And I think that kind of plays into to part of that.
It is, and and kind of what you were talking about, looking at bar graphs. If you were to go back and look at it, I think the very interesting thing is over a longer period of time. Whereas last year, your highs are essentially like what our lows are at now. You know what I'm saying? So the whole, everything is kind of moving forward. And we have lulls and we have down spots, but they're not. You know what I'm saying? They're not like massively detrimental. As we kind of grow and expand. And we learn ultimately, what used to be your goal is kind of now like our baseline.
Correct.
And now, it's just kind of everything, and
It's constant adjustments.
it's constant adjustments. And I have to throw a cliche in here because Levi, he calls me the purveyor of fine cliches, and I pride myself in that. But, as they say, a rising tide lifts all boats. So I feel like the tide is rising, and we just got to ride the wave.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Purveyor of fine
cliches. Only the finest will do.
That's your cliche of the day.
That's
folks.
a top shelf cliche
That
right
is
there.
a top shelf cliche. That one came from Harris Teeter.
Well, you can't top Harris Teeter with cliches. I mean,
I don't know, unless you live up north, and then you got Wedgman's, which is apparently far superior to Harris Teeter, but I digress.
So here's a question, because I've talked about this before years ago. How do you maintain your momentum? What are some key factors that if you're struggling to get it started?
Yeah.
One thing, but two, if you haven't going, how do you maintain it?
Yeah, and this is one thing I was thinking about, and I think I was actually having a discussion with my wife recently about how important it is that one of the main killers to momentum, I think, is simply inaction. Is if either you just get depressed that you're not moving fast enough or making enough progress or whatever it is, but the worst thing you can do is stop acting, stop doing what you need to do. So the best thing you could do, conversely, is take one step, and it doesn't, and I always say, like, if this is my goal and this is where I am, the worst thing I can do is today not move closer to that goal. But I don't have to move halfway there. I don't have to move even a quarter of the way there. Just what is one thing I can do to get me 1 centimeter closer to that goal, and then do that thing, and then tomorrow try to do something bigger. Tomorrow try to do something more. But I think one of the things that I've learned is that find that one small, very easy thing to do, and keep doing that, so that at least you're moving one step closer every time, that you're doing something. And so that's one thing for me, is just keep moving somehow, some way, and eventually I think momentum will build as you're making those adjustments and things like that.
And you along the way, you have to recognize when you're actually making those small achievements.
Yeah.
It's a retrospective look back. Hey, okay, it feels like we're stuck. It feels like we're not making any forward motion. We don't have any forward momentum, and so you have to kind of stop and turn around and go, oh, well, yeah, we have, and these are the areas that we have won in. So let's keep working towards that versus just being down on yourself for feeling like you're never making any progress. I think that that's something that it's self-awareness, maybe. But it's always kind of reassessing where you are as a business, as an individual. That's one of the things that I do want to make sure we continually focus on, especially even here, is always improving, self-improvement, self-evaluation. Because if we're all mindful of that, if we're all kind of self-aware of what's going on, then we can work better cohesively as an organization. If we're blind to that, if we have no self-awareness, then it's a struggle to kind of communicate, to work together.
Facility over here in Charlotte, and they had some recent incidents with some vandalism in their parking lot, involving specifically employees' personal property. So it was a huge concern for them because, they were kind of at the stance, well, if my employees are inside and they're scared or they're worried about what's going to happen at work, how focused are they really on their task at hand? You know, their mind is kind of elsewhere. So to kind of set it up a little bit more, we had already been out on site. We had done some mechanical work for them, some rekeying, a little bit of repairs on some doors. And their project manager contacted me and said, look, you know, you guys have done a stellar job for us here already. I definitely want to get you guys involved with the next phase of our security, which was going to be access control and security cameras. So, you know, again, he brought us in and we sat down and we hashed it out, and, you know, he laid out all of his concerns, you know, kind of, hey, this is an incident we had, and it's an isolated incident for right now, but, you know, we are mindful of what could potentially happen in the future. So these are the kind of things that we could possibly see happening, and we want to kind of head it off. You know, we want to kind of get ahead of the curve. You know, so we looked at it, and, you know, their phase one of their project was to quite simply secure the building. You know, they were already using an electronic card to manage their employees' time, and it's just so happens it's the same kind of technology needed to run an access control system. So I was like, you know, you've already got the infrastructure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Everybody already has credentials. You already have your database managed. Let's just simply tie that into your doors and increase your security. So step one for them was to secure their doors, to keep the people inside safe if there was an incident. You know, moving beyond a mechanical key system where if somebody had to be let go, if there was an emergency, they could immediately lock the doors down and keep people safe, as well as controlling a traffic gate in their truck yard. That was kind of phase one. And then phase two, which we are currently wrapping up now, was adding security cameras to kind of monitor what was going on in the parking lot. So if there was an incident, you know, they could go back and see kind of what happened. It was a very interesting shift because when I first made contact with them, they had literally hired a CMPD officer to basically sit in the parking lot 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah. To kind of keep tabs on it, and it was
it was a pretty big incident that happened.
It was a huge incident, yes, and they were just the cost on that officer sitting there was just simply huge. Yeah, you know, so
a couple of interesting components of that is this particular situation. I've been in the industry for 14 years, and I've never heard of this exact scenario before.
I was like, this is North Carolina, not California.
and it's interesting, and that's the reason that I think this is a great topic to discuss, is that it's a one-off. It's a custom type situation. Yeah. Are we ever going to run across those exact variables again? I hope not. It's a high probability that we won't.
Right.
And so I think from what you did is you went in and you said, hey, what's going on? What's important to you? What do you already have? What are you using? What's going to work with your current employee flow, the current process? That we're not impeding the process, but we're improving the security. And so it's kind of a custom solution instead of just a out of the box, hey, this is what we do for everybody.
Yeah, it definitely was not a canned solution because they had so many variables. You know, so I couldn't just come out there with a big box of tools and say, hey, here you go.